Most people will spend their whole lives confined in a world built on compromise, living on someone else's terms, never truly confronting what they're capable of. They'll talk about their dreams, but never chase them. They'll think about changing, but never start. They'll say someday until someday becomes never. But the rare few, the ones who actually break through, they live by a different code. They understand that growth doesn't come from comfort, and the person they want to become lives on the other side of pain. When you strip away the noise, the excuses, and the fear, what's left is a choice: to either remain who you are or to become who you could be. And that choice, that's the moment your real life begins. Most people will never reach it, because comfort feels safe and safety feels good. But it kills potential. They trade their dreams for distractions, their purpose for pleasure, their edge for ease. They've forgotten that discipline is freedom, that sacrifice is strength, and that pain is a teacher. You don't rise when it's easy. You rise when it hurts. You don't grow when you win. You grow when you refuse to quit. Every single day, life gives you a chance to either evolve or repeat, to either walk the same path or blaze your own. And the truth is, most people will spend their lives sleepwalking, but not you. Because if you're still listening, you've already started to wake up. Every man faces a moment, that breaking point, where the noise fades and the truth stands naked. You realize no one is coming to save you. No mentor, no friend, no miracle. It's just you, and the war inside your own mind. You can either collapse under the weight of your excuses, or you can rise. And rising doesn't mean perfection. It means persistence. It means showing up when you're tired, disciplined when you're uninspired, and focused when nobody's watching. The greatest transformation doesn't come from motivation. It comes from consistency in the dark. From those silent mornings when you drag yourself out of bed because the mission demands it. From those lonely nights when doubt whispers, "Quit," and you answer back, "Not today." People will doubt you. They'll mock your ambition, question your pace, and misunderstand your silence. But that's fine, because they were never supposed to see your vision. The journey was never meant for them. It was meant for you. Every sacrifice you make, every hour no one notices, every failure you learn from, it's building something they can't comprehend. Something forged in pain, sculpted by patience, and sealed by discipline. You see, the goal isn't to be better than others. It's to be unrecognizable compared to who you used to be. To evolve so deeply that even your past self wouldn't recognize you. Because that's what growth really is: destruction and rebirth. You burn the old habits, the old fears, the old you, and rise again. Most people think strength is about muscle, power, or dominance. But real strength, the kind that lasts, comes from control. Control of your emotions. Control of your mind. Control of how you react when everything falls apart. Anyone can stay calm when life is easy. But when chaos strikes, when your plans crumble, when people betray you, when life tests you, that's when your character is revealed. You either break or you build. And that's what separates men who drift from men who lead. Leaders don't look for comfort. They look for clarity. They don't chase validation. They chase mastery. Because when you master yourself, you master your world. Understand this. Life will test you again and again until you learn the lesson. It will strip away your illusions, expose your weaknesses, and force you to confront your truth. But that's not punishment. It's preparation. Every setback is shaping the warrior within you. Every storm is carving out the strength you'll need for what's coming. And when you finally stop running from discomfort, when you stop asking for the easy road, you'll realize the pain was never your enemy. It was your training. The fire you thought was burning you was actually forging you. Every scar is proof that you were tested, and you endured, that you walked through hell and didn't bow. There comes a point when you stop chasing approval and start chasing purpose, when you stop living for attention and start living for alignment. Because the moment you realize that peace is more valuable than applause, you become unstoppable. Most people are addicted to validation. They want to be seen, liked, understood. But the truth is, your vision wasn't meant to be understood by everyone. If they could see what you see, they'd already be doing what you're doing. Your path will be lonely, not because you're broken, but because greatness always walks alone before it's followed. Solitude isn't punishment, it's purification. It's where you separate what's real from what's noise. It's where you meet yourself, without distraction, without masks, without fear. And in that silence, you begin to see clearly. You start realizing what truly matters: discipline, focus, faith, and the mission. You stop trying to prove and start trying to improve. You stop chasing attention and start building intention. Because the real ones, the ones who change their lives, they don't announce it. They just disappear. They vanish into the grind, into the discipline, into the work. And when they return, they're unrecognizable. People will say, "You've changed," and they'll be right, because you weren't made to stay the same. You were made to evolve, to rise, to shed the version of you that played small. There's a reason most people never level up. They crave change, but they fear the cost. They want the new life, but not the death of the old one. They want success, but not the sacrifice. They want strength, but avoid the struggle that creates it. But transformation isn't gentle. It doesn't whisper. It demands. It takes everything weak inside you and burns it away. The process will break you down before it builds you back up. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. You'll lose friends. You'll outgrow circles. You'll walk away from comfort. Because the version of you that's rising cannot survive in the same environment that created your weakness. And that's where most people stop. Right at the edge of becoming. Because it hurts. Because it's lonely. Because it feels like everything's falling apart. But what's really happening is everything's falling into place. The pain you feel is the resistance of growth. It's your old self fighting to stay alive. But you're not here to stay the same. You're here to evolve, to break cycles, to set a new standard for what your life can be. So when it hurts, don't retreat. Lean in. Because the moment you push through what was meant to destroy you, you'll realize that the person you were dying to become has been waiting on the other side all along. There's a moment in every warrior's journey where silence becomes louder than noise, where you stop explaining, stop defending, and simply let your results speak. You start realizing that the world doesn't respond to words. It responds to proof, to action, to presence. You don't need to convince anyone anymore. You don't need to justify your discipline, your grind, your isolation. Because those who get it don't need an explanation, and those who don't wouldn't understand anyway. See, there's a power that comes from staying silent while you build, from letting your work echo louder than your emotions, from choosing patience when others choose pride. That's real strength, because success built on ego collapses. But success built on silence, that endures. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, consistency over chaos, you're building an empire within, brick by brick, day by day, without applause, without validation, just pure focus. And one day, the same people who doubted you will watch in disbelief. They'll call it luck. They'll say you changed. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was relentless commitment. It was faith in the unseen. It was the daily choice to keep going when no one believed in you. That's what separates the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the builders, and the lost from the legendary. At some point, you'll realize the fight was never against the world. It was always within. Your greatest opponent has always been your own mind, the voice that tells you to wait, the fear that whispers, "You're not ready," the doubt that convinces you to settle. But once you confront that voice, once you look it in the eye and say, "Not anymore," everything changes. Because mastery begins the moment you stop running from yourself. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control what happens within you. And that's where real power lives. Not in dominance over others, but in discipline over self. When you learn to stay calm in chaos, focused under pressure, and grateful in struggle, that's when you've evolved. That's when you become dangerous, not because you're loud, but because you're unshakable. Understand this. The world rewards composure. Anyone can be confident when life is easy. But true confidence is standing tall when everything's collapsing and still saying, "I got this." That's what separates men of reaction from men of reason. Because emotion can make you weak, but clarity, Clarity makes you unstoppable. So the next time your mind starts spiraling, remember, you're not your thoughts. You're the awareness behind them. You are the calm in the storm. And once you realize that, nothing and no one can move you. There comes a stage in your evolution where you stop chasing things and start attracting them. Not because you've become lucky, but because you've become aligned. You've cut off distractions. You've silenced chaos. You've turned pain into power and focus into your weapon. You no longer move from desperation. You move from purpose. You're no longer trying to prove. You're simply becoming. And that shift changes everything. Because the moment you stop begging the world to notice you and start building something undeniable, the world can't ignore you. Success stops being something you chase and becomes something you embody. It shows up in your presence, in your energy, in the way you walk through the fire and still keep your peace. You start realizing that abundance was never about what you have. It's about who you are, the mindset you carry, the habits you repeat, the standards you refuse to drop. And the more you evolve, the quieter you become. Not because you're afraid, but because you've found peace in mastery. You've learned that real power doesn't shout. It radiates. It doesn't need to be seen. It's felt. You've become the type of person who doesn't need to announce the change. Your energy says it for you. Because transformation isn't about proving anything. It's about becoming everything you were meant to be. Eventually, you'll look back and realize the struggle was the gift. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every loss, every rejection, it was all carving you into someone stronger. The pain you once cursed became your greatest teacher. It showed you what you're made of. It stripped away illusions and left behind only truth, your truth. You'll understand that life wasn't punishing you. It was preparing you. Every obstacle was building endurance. Every failure was refining focus. Every setback was shaping the foundation for your rise. Because without pressure, there is no diamond. Without pain, there is no growth. And without struggle, there is no strength worth having. You'll start to see that all along. You weren't breaking down. You were being rebuilt, reforged, remade into someone who no longer flinches when life tests them. You'll stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Try me." Because the very fire that once burned you now fuels you, and the storms that once terrified you now remind you who you are. This is what it means to become unshakable, to no longer react, but respond, to no longer crumble, but command, to stand tall, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. There comes a moment when everything you've endured begins to make sense, when the pain no longer feels like punishment, but preparation, when you realize that all those silent battles were training you for this very season. You stop seeking shortcuts, because now you understand Every detour was part of the design. You start moving differently. You carry yourself with quiet certainty. You no longer need to announce what's next, because you already know. Your time is coming. The people who once doubted you will fall silent, not because you proved them wrong, but because you outgrew the need to prove anything at all. Your results will speak in a language they can't deny, and you'll understand something powerful. Peace isn't found in escape. It's found in endurance. You made it through the chaos without losing yourself. You faced storms that others would have folded under, and you're still standing. That's the reward. Not fame, not validation, but self-respect. Knowing you didn't quit when it would have been easier to. Knowing you became the kind of person your past self used to dream about being. That's the quiet victory of the disciplined. Now you walk differently. There's no rush in your stride, no fear in your eyes, only purpose. You've learned that control isn't about domination. It's about direction. You no longer chase fleeting highs because you've built something deeper: stability, clarity, peace. You see life for what it is, a test of patience and persistence. You stop asking for fewer problems and start building greater strength. You stop wishing for easy days and start sharpening yourself for hard ones. You've become the kind of person who thrives under pressure, who turns chaos into composure, who stands calm in rooms where everyone else panics. That's leadership, not shouting, not ego, but presence. You now understand what the greats always knew, that the journey is the reward, that the process is the prize, and that greatness isn't achieved once. It's maintained daily, in silence, through discipline. So you keep going, not because you have to, but because you can. And when the dust settles, when the noise fades, when the world finally slows down, you'll realize something profound. You've already become everything you were chasing. You've already turned pain into peace. You've already become the man who no longer reacts, but responds. You won't need recognition because you'll have respect for yourself. You won't need applause because you'll have mastery over your mind. You won't need validation because you'll have vision and direction. This is the quiet truth no one tells you. The goal was never perfection. The goal was transformation. To take everything that once broke you and use it as fuel to build something unshakable. You've walked through fire and didn't burn. You've faced storms and didn't drown. You've met every version of yourself and chose the strongest one. And now, you don't just survive the storm, you are the storm.